Hi, friends. I am still on the topic of providing for ourselves, um, building relationship with our lineage. Some might call it ancestral work, and talking with stars. So, yesterday, or in the last episode, I brought up a conversation that I had been a part of, and I've been a part of this conversation for many, many years. Um, but the timing is right on where I am with this theme, where the other people were with the theme, and then some of the other words of poetry that came into my field of awareness that helped me make some new connections. And I would like to share some part of that with you. So, I brought up in the last conversation a woman on YouTube who has an area of expertise that I don't delve into very often. Um, Parts of it just freak me. They freak me out there. I'm just way too uncomfortable with it, and that's fine. I don't need to know everything. Um, but there are other parts that make a lot of sense to me. And most recently, she had an episode about, I believe she called it The End of Ignorance, and it's Solara Rising on YouTube. I believe she's also got a website by that name. You can check her out. But she spoke a lot about how we have had this overlay. I'm using my language here. We've had an overlay um, over humanity for the past however long it's been. And this hypnotism has convinced us to turn away from ourselves, turn away from our internal compass, our inner knowing. And she's not the only person who's speaking about this. She just happens to be someone who is very contemporary with it and seems to have a really good practice. If you want ongoing information, she could be a source that you would enjoy staying tuned to. But there have been many, many, many people over the generations talking about this idea of humanity being deceived about what's true and what's important, and, well, about what's true and what's really important. So, when it comes to, first of all, when it comes to astrology, I just want to say this because I had a funny, amusing understanding or recognition that came into my head. So, one of the things that people say about people who pay attention to astrology is that they're a bunch of navel gazers, self-absorbed navel gazers, which could definitely, absolutely be true. It is also true, first of all, that the navel is part of the stars. There's that. We are made of stardust. That is a thing that's pretty much out there in pop culture now, and it's both beautifully poetic and literal. And the navel area is the center of many things. It was our connection to life while we were building in the womb. And if we allow ourselves to have that sort of that imaginal relationship again, or that mythic or even fairy tale relationship again, this idea of a non-visible, non-fibrous cord that still reaches to the heavens, which in some traditions, the Milky Way is actually feeding deities. It's feeding the cosmos. It's actually like genuine nourishment. And there are those who say that, I mean, there's so many things that people say that are really beautiful and worth exploring, especially in this time of things coming down. But there are people who say that space is really water. There's actually a recent report or study or research that has come out that shows the chemistry of space and how, molecularly speaking, there is a watery quality to it. I just saw part of that article. So there's a lot of conversation around space. There's an asteroid. I saw this recently, and this does not surprise me. What does surprise me is that there's still people who think there couldn't possibly be any other life out there besides this planet. Like, I have never understood that. I can genuinely say, when my brain started working at a younger age, I could never understand how people were just so convinced and convicted that there was just absolutely no possibility of life anywhere else off this planet. Never made sense to me. And now we're starting to show evidence of what we understand as being life and the building blocks of life. So there was another article recently about an asteroid and what was found on that asteroid. I always it was. I'm not going to say what it was. I'm not going to say what it was because I can't articulate the words of what it was, but it was the building blocks of life as human beings know it. So our navel, and I love mythic language. I love mythic themes. For me personally, staying in touch with my mythic imagination and my mythic literacy, and that includes fairy tales, that includes astrology, fables, storytelling, things that are told with stories, songs. Songs are such medicine. And I'll leave it there. I lost my train of thought, guys. So sorry. The navel and holding on to this idea that not only are we in this very physical, touchable, tangible experience, but there's also this more than us experience. There is this cosmic experience, this frequency of experience, and we are connected to more than we can see. And I have had these experiences myself. Many of you have had these experiences yourself. And so we can just know that this is true. So we can laugh at the joke of astrology being a subject for self-absorbed people and navel gazers. And we can also recognize that astrology is our language. It is how the cosmos, the stars, the celestial heavens, it's how that out there speaks to us here, and how we speak back to it, because we can be in conversation and relationship with the stars and the heavens. So we can allow people to continue to rob us of our birthright languages. And in my experience, understanding the stars well enough to be in relationship with them, well enough to receive guidance and direction from them, through them, with them. Or we can choose to take our language back, to take ownership of our mythic capacities, our storytelling capacities, our symbolic literacy. And that is what I am asking us to do. That is what I am asking us to do. Something else I'd like to say before I drop into my perspective that I'd like to share on how to read some things. Something else that I'd like to say is our understanding of what something means, regardless of what that thing is, often, most often, maybe always, I don't know that last part, but it comes from our agreement as a unit on what that thing means. So there are some things in the world that are black and white. Like, everyone in their right mind would be in agreement on the truth of those topics. There's just a few. I would say some of them are biblical, but perhaps if we went and visited the 42 laws of Ma'at, we might have a better list of what we could say would be universally agreeable. The rest of the things that we're out here dealing with, smaller pockets of people, even if that smaller pocket is a few million people agreeing on something, there's going to be another group of people who see it a different way, and both groups would actually be accurate and valid. Astrological language is one of those things in the human experience that a lot of people agree on. And then there's different ways of using that language and understanding that language that are in conflict with one another, but still valid, applicable, useful, and accurate. And one of the reasons why astrology has been so difficult for humans as a whole to grasp, aside from some of the other things that I mentioned about being robbed of our birthright language, that is like a country, well, that is like a country going into another country or going into another people and saying, you can't practice your religion anymore, you can't practice your language anymore. It is robbing people of cultural identity. And that has happened to us with our relationship with the heavens, our direct relationship with the heavens. And that is something that is being restored. That is something that is, the way is being made for that relationship, for our relationship with more. The way is being made for that to be restored. So I say that, all of that, to plant the seed with you that we all had to come into an agreement about what the sun means, or what Pluto means, or what a generational planet means, or what the tropical, well, maybe that's more technical, I won't throw that in there. Tropical sidereal, like how we read, what we read based on, that is more of a, it's either there or it's not. And that is not to say that one system is better or more accurate than the other. It's absolutely not what I'm saying. What I'm going to share with you here, you can use it with whatever system you want to use it with. It's what I am going to be encouraging you to do is develop your own system and language. That's what I'm going to be encouraging you to do. But it's important for me to say, for example, this is what I used to teach a lot of students. I was a preceptor for the bodywork school that I graduated from. And one of the big challenges for a new massage therapist or body worker is that, like, there's so many trainings, there's so many classes, there's so many modalities that I can study. I don't know what to study. And then there came the struggle with certification. And I was very proud of my certification. I got licensed at a time when only a handful of states in the country were taking massage therapy seriously enough to create licensure around it. Now, I have a lot of issues with licensure, having, being on the other side of a little over 2 decades of it, but it gave credibility, which was something that was definitely desired. Among people who took the time to study and become skillful at this highly needed skill set. As I got further into my profession and my career, I began to understand that just because someone was certified did not mean they were good at what they were doing. And that is just across the board, certified or licensed. Just because you have the piece of paper doesn't mean that you should be doing the work. And I learned that with a lot of different licensed and certified professionals. And what that started making me realize is that, coming back to my own field of skill, was that the certifications came later, the licensure came later, but the practice of the thing, that was developed by people who didn't know what they were doing in the beginning and were following instinct and then following repetition. Like the scientific method was alive and well at some part, some moment in time in human history. People had an idea, and then they tested it out and tested it out and tested it out and took notes, and then refined and refined and refined and drew new conclusions alongside of being successful or completely disastrous in their original hypothesis. How this applies to astrological language or even tarot or dream work, if you're using it for this, or even for those of you out there who might be body workers. And I do make a distinction between massage therapists and body workers. And I'm going to take this little tangent here because I like my mind likes nuance. So for me, a massage therapist, they are working for the system. They are licensed, and I was a massage therapist. That's how I started. They're licensed. They're doing things by the licensing rules, by statutory rules. And there's a system, and it's often the Swedish system, which was popularized by John Harvey Kellogg. Was Harvey his middle name? Definitely Kellogg. He was definitely one of the Kellogg brothers. I spent a lot of time studying this man. But it's like clinical practice. Now, there are beautiful massage therapists out there who do energy work and just all of this hybridized, beautiful choreography and call themselves massage therapists. My relationship with body work is someone who has expanded their practice out, and they include a broad range of modalities, and they're not necessarily attached to or defined by the license. And what I'm encouraging you to become is a body worker when it comes to your symbolic understanding and your symbolic engagement with the world. So we get training wheels as a therapist, as a licensed practitioner, because licensed practitioners have to follow a certain set of rules. And oftentimes there's not a lot of room to step out of that scope of practice, whatever the license is. And that's the agreement, that's the contract. A body worker has moved outside of the contract, perhaps voided the contract, has decided that there's a different way of expressing that they want to do, has made the thing their own. May or may not work under a license, etc. That what I'm wanting us to focus on now is like the concept of the thing, not necessarily the do they have the paperwork or not. Because what I started telling people who were struggling with, there's this new thing that I want to do, there's this new way, I'm inspired now, I have done the scripted thing, I've gotten really good at the script. That was my experience. Got really good at the script, and now something new is coming out of the script. I want us to free ourselves from the script. And that means you might be the first one who starts speaking in a certain way about things. There are things that I was trained in that didn't come from a license or a certificate when the culture that developed those ways of healing. So there was a time when I didn't need a license or didn't need a certification. I was taught to do something like apprentice style or family skill style. And because I did it so much, my own flavor started coming through. And that flavor is what a lot of people have taken out and made into certifications of their own. My point to you is not the licensure or the certification. It's the idea that we can't modify, change, enhance, hybridize, adjust, refine, build on something without having someone else's permission. We are coming out of that time. Now, I'm not saying every profession's coming out of that time. I'm saying our individual mind is coming out of this idea that we have to ask for permission and receive it before we allow ourselves to think the ways that we think. And you are going to have ways of thinking about life that are at least a little bit different from the people around you, because your experience, your direct experience of life is going to be a little bit different than the people around you. So now we're coming into a time where we have to be responsible. You have to be responsible for your own experiences and what you do with them and how you interpret them and how you begin to embody your experiences and what you begin to teach others through your experiences. And that is something that does not come with a certification. It doesn't come with a stamp of approval from some external authority saying, yes, you got it right. Now is the time where we have to really check in with ourselves and learn our own bodies in order to be able to recognize whether the thing you're thinking and the ideas that are forming with you that might be calling for development, whether they're actually your ideas or someone else's ideas. And then do you want to pursue those ideas, whether they're yours or someone else's? Or do you need to step away from conditioning, programming someone else's vocabulary, including the vocabulary that I share about astrology or dream work or whatever else it is we get into in this channel? Human design is another amazing world of usefulness. But you will have to develop your discernment. So going all the way back to the first episodes, discernment is a practice. It is an ongoing practice, and it takes trial and error and our willingness to try out things we haven't tried before. And that can be an inner and external experience. And then make decisions about whether that works or doesn't work for us. And a whole bunch of other decisions. So I say all of that because when I share the information that I share, I'm sharing it trusting that you are already in discernment mode, that you're not just soaking up what I say and taking it as law and gospel. I'm sharing my education, my background experience, my in the moment thoughts about how things are occurring to me as I am speaking them outside. And I hope that they're useful, but I'm also wanting to be a voice that encourages lots of other people to think for themselves and act for themselves. And right now I'm using the language of astrology to help us do that. So let's talk about this. Solara said some beautiful things about joy templates, co-creation. She brought up the tarot suit, the 9 of Cups and 10 of Cups. And what this brought to mind for me was there was a lot of talk last year about last year being a 9 year and this year being a 10 year. And you can go look at tarot for the numbers, and go straight to numerology and just check out 9s and 10s. But real briefly, 9s, in my experience and my understanding, they are a culmination. So we've been doing all the work from 0 to 9, a lot of work, and each of those numbers represents a different kind of work. And then at 9, we're at this point of, like, it's a point of celebration, light at the end of the tunnel, but there's still work to do. So we're still pushing through, but there's also an invitation to, like, at least look around and appreciate the work that you've done. So I'm asking you to do this. We are collectively, we had a 9 year, and you might be in a personal 9 year. You can, these are all things you can go investigate and explore for yourself. And symbolism is useful because it gives us touch points and anchor points. It's not just woo-woo nonsense that we're better off ignoring. I think that's what I was wanting to communicate when I spoke about our symbolic language being taken from us. And part of what this woman is saying about this overlay on humanity being placed there to divert our energy that's actually meant for us to use individually, and then in our individual application of our best practices and clearest sense of purpose, we are then contributing back to the whole. But things got sidetracked, and deliberately so, in this particular framework of seeing the world. That might be true. But what is true is that a lot of people have been told that these languages are nonsense, including prayer. Like, we've had a lot of our spiritual practices removed from daily use because they're powerful. And I am encouraging you to pull them back into your life. So 10, just the year we're in this year. So it's the year 2026. And I know calendars and, who knows what year we're actually in. But for this conversation, we're working with the year 2026, which is 2 plus 2 comes to 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. And then some people will say a 1 and a 0. The 10s are culmination, but it is also that 1 and that 0. So it's also a starting over point, or a preparation for the starting over point. So we've had a couple of transitional years, letting go of what has served up to a point but cannot go further into the future. We're in that space as well. So working with this idea that as a whole, as a species, humanity has been, our attention has been pointed towards someone else's good or something else's good, when we were actually designed to live out our own individual creative gifts and joy and a whole bunch of other things. And we are coming into a time where more of us are going to need to tune back in to what we are about, what motivates us, and what keys and codes we've been given as individuals. That it's like, what's coming to mind is that was it Voltron with the pieces that came together with the lion's head and everything. Like, I grew up on that stuff. So it's like that. Like, each one, I guess Power Rangers might have been another version for the next generation or two down, but each one had their gift and they developed the gift. So they focused on themselves and selfishly developed the gift and came together when needed to work as a unit way stronger than the individual could be. That Thundercats, that's another one that's coming to mind. I missed that cartoon. Anyway, so we're going to work on our Thundercat power, our Power Ranger power, our Voltron power. And if you guys have other ones, please pop those in the comments, because that just brings me a lot of joy. That speaks to my very young girl who loved all of that stuff. So let's talk about the astrological. Let's just talk about an aspect of astrology. So you don't have to believe in astrology. It's like, people say, I don't have to believe in electricity for electricity to be impacting your life on a daily basis. And that's not just lights and things. Our bodies are electric, and the world is electric. I just saw an article recently that said that aging might have something to do with a decrease of electrical voltage in the body. And there are things like the Rife machine and other like the use of bells and chimes that build frequency in the body. There are these tools that have been disappeared that seem to be coming back into our awareness from different sources. So that's something else for you to go take a look into if that resonates to you at all. This idea of voltage as we age, and then some tools that can help us keep our electric bodies alive. But we're going to talk about. I'm asking questions. This is how we're going to work with astrology. And when you are working with your chart, I encourage you to work with it as a question, not as something that you're going to extract information from, but the story of you, one of many stories of you that you are going to be in conversation with. And I'm going to start with something that I heard. I listened to a woman. Her business is called Wise Star Astrology. And for a number of years now, I have been looking at ways to work with astrology for ancestral communication. And there's a lot of ways to do this. So I'm not going to get into those because I need to get these numbers to you guys. But this woman, at least at the time of the filming of this conversation, she was doing ancestor work through astrology. And she said some things that I had been thinking on myself. And so I knew that I wanted to share them. And she spoke about the fourth, 8th, and 12th house being houses of lineage. Houses of lineage is my language. I think she said ancestral houses. And so we know about the 4th house. We think of that as the root of the chart. The 4th, 8th, and 12th, for those of you who've gone into astrology a little more, those are also called the dark houses. There's other names for them. The hidden houses. They're the houses that, the 4th house is under the horizon. It's in the bottom half of that circle. And so we consider it a house that we don't see. I have had teachers call that the root. So for you, one of the questions is, what roots you? What feels like something that's core for you? CORE. And that's the question that I want to ask for that. So let me just back up. What are we talking about here? We're talking about our ability to provide for ourselves. And that doesn't mean that we do it all by ourselves. It doesn't mean that we gather up the money by ourselves. Like we need other people in order to generate like currency passed from person to person. You might have access to like food that's growing around you. Those are provisions, and that's a relationship that you have with the land and the people of the land, or the other beings of the land, the insects and the creatures that are helping you care for that environment. So what I'm wanting to remind us is that our resources and our provisions, we're always in relationship with the larger world with them. So the 4th house, that also has to do with family. It has to do, like in the old texts with astrology, it was like treasure, um, land, real estate. These are like things that are passed down from generation to generation. So as you are listening to me speaking these words, I want you to feel them out in your body. Like, where is this landing for you, and what imagery is coming to mind? Because this is how we get our information. Many of us, you might hear something, a word, you might smell something, you might remember something, you might be inspired to go do something, to look for something in your house, or to call someone, a friend, a relative, somebody else. These are all, like, if you imagine my words being something on a fiber optic network or some sort of thing that lights up, when we're out engaging with the world is constantly communicating with us. It's really obvious when it's another human, but we are communicated with by everything when we're paying attention, and especially when we really need it. And I'm not saying the communication comes instantly. I am saying actually it's a relationship that we develop. And the more that you develop the relationship, the more you come to understand what the communication is for you, because it'll show up for people in different ways. There's so many different ways for the world to communicate and for us to communicate with the world. So when I say things to you, your job is to tune inward and be receptive to where the words and the vibration lands and what it brings up for you. So 4th house, 8th house, 12th house, you can pull out your chart at some point and just see if anything's interesting's going on in those houses. And you can start to talk with your chart. What is the 4th house about? What is the 8th house about? What is the 12th house about? 8th house being the area of taboo and secrets. So when this person was speaking, reminding us of these house placements, I was getting information based on my own experiences with these things. And that's the primary information that we want to tune into, especially if you don't have a lot of time to tune into everything. Okay. So as I'm speaking, it might not be the words that I'm saying. You might get a different set of information. The vibration of my words, the words, it's just coding to help activate something in you. So for those of us who might be struggling, might have a theme of how do I support myself? 4th house, 8th house, 12th house. 4th house, what are your roots? And that's not just the people that you come from. It could be the land that you come from, the ideology that you come from, the philosophical approach to life that you come from. It's the things, it's like your core rooted. You are the tree. What is that experience for you? And then based on what I said earlier about some of what shows up in the 4th house, you can tune into those things. Do you have land? Is there land that's calling you? The idea with all of this that I'm sharing is when we go in and we speak to the symbolic nature of our lives, we get a lot of information about what we are meant to pursue, what we are meant to develop, what we are meant to contribute. And it takes a willingness to develop the skill to hear how life is talking to you. It takes practice, and it takes being willing to expose yourself to things like this that maybe you don't feel like you have time for, or maybe you don't feel like you believe in it, but there might be something that's shared that piques your interest. Follow that interest. Okay. 8th house. So what family secrets are there? And you may not know what the family secrets are. It's not about knowing, it's about acknowledging. Like, are there family secrets? Is there some taboo around having money or keeping money? going back to our theme, doing my best to stay focused on this theme of self-provision, like being able to put ourselves in the position to receive from life, to receive provisions from life, and to keep them, to be able to maintain them and continue to grow with them, because that is one of the blessings that we have been given, is the instruction to take what we have and multiply it so that we can so that it can be shared, so that we can benefit it and it can benefit others. So what are your roots? What might your lineage have struggled with in terms of power, taboo, secrets? Okay, now I'm going to go to the 12th house. The 12th house is where things are hidden. Like, we don't often know what's in the 12th house. But in this space, we can take our question of how do I support myself into our dream time. The dream space is very much a 12th house experience. We can take a question to our ancestral altar if we have one, or to our dream time, asking, is there something in my family lineage that really wants to be healed through my life, that would be in service to my being able to provide for my life in a material and meaningful way? Okay, I'm gonna speed this up. This is gonna be a long one, as you can tell, but I'm just gonna go with it. So, and there's so much more that we can do in these questions, but just that's plenty to chew on. 4, 8, and 12, the dark houses, the houses where things are not obvious, the houses of secrets, the houses of the unconscious, the houses of things that are hidden, unseen. The 2, 6, and 10, these are often referred to as the houses of, like, if someone wants to know what kind of work they should be doing, you should be looking at your 2, 6, and 10, like what's going on in 2, 6, and 10. The second house, you don't need to have your chart in front of you. I'm asking you questions. So in the second house, it's our house of values. What do you personally value? What do you personally put a value on? And what do you have as resources of value? It can be your intellectual resources, could be resources of beauty, resources. It could be ancestral land. It could be just like, what do you have available to you that be considered a resource? And we do get to get creative, because it's not just money. It's not just material things. It could be friendships, or your ability to make friends wherever you go. That's an incredible resource. So getting clear about what you bring to life, because that contributes to how we show up in other spaces. The 6th house is considered the area of work and routines. So in this context of providing for ourselves, what can we do on a moment-to-moment daily basis, including how we're thinking about ourselves and our situations? What routines and rituals, practices, and sense of purpose can we commit to that would help us continue to move towards the thing we know we are designed to build or create in terms of providing for ourselves? And providing for ourselves, you don't have to be self-employed. You could be one of those magical unicorns out there who still has a job. All of this can be applied to working for someone else as well. So we're not limited to self-employment here. The 10th house is house of legacy. People will call it career, but I really appreciate the teachers who have us thinking bigger, because what is all of this work for? But to leave something behind for the people around us and the people coming up behind us that they can also benefit from. So what is your contribution? What is your family's contribution? When I say those words that I just said about leaving something behind that others can benefit from, what does that bring up in you? What images, what ideas, what desires? And it could be desires for yourself. It is often said that some of us have to create the things that we wish were available to us. Some of us have to be the ones to make that thing happen. So you might desire something that you would be the person to develop. You don't necessarily have to do it alone. And so, well, that would be an 11th house thing, and I'll just go ahead and talk about that. So 11th house is our networks. So 1, 5, and 11 networks, the people that we know, the people that we can tap into, the friendships, the connections that we have. For a lot of us, the work that we have access to in the world comes through other people. Like, we need one another. We need people to share word of mouth. We need people who know someone who needs help with something and wants to hire someone. So who is your network? What is your network? You need to develop your network. Do you need to reach out to people? Do you need to express gratitude for the people that you have? The 5th house, so I'm going backwards here, jumping off of that last tangent. It's 1, 5, and 11 that I'm working with here. The 5th house is the house of creativity and playfulness. So one of the things that I learned when studying to be a better English coach for adults is that, and actually I learned this before, it's something that I used to teach to my coaching clients when I was working with clients as a nutrition coach. We need play. And research has shown that we actually learn and retain better when we're playing. And the 5th house is about play. It's also creativity, it's art, it's expression. It's also children and love affairs. I don't know why I put all of that in there, but the 5th house is a fun house. Like, it is the fun house. And so, how do you have fun in life? When's the last time you had fun? What can you do to have fun? One of the things that I would share with I prefer working with adults. That's who it has been. I feel like there's so many people who love working with children and have no patience for adults. I love working with adults, and I feel like if there are more happy, healthy adults, there will be more happy, healthy children. So that's my contribution. That's the angle I choose to come from. And one of the things that I've learned with adults is we forget to have fun. We forget how to relax and have fun. So I would encourage my adults to go get a paddleboard. Like, what were the toys of your childhood? Hot Wheels cars. Go get a couple Hot Wheels cars and keep them on your desk. Get some bubbles. They're like 99 cents at the dollar store. Get some crayons, get a little Play-Doh, something that lights you up when you see it or makes you giggle. What do you do to have fun? Like genuine, giggling, goofy fun. I am caring for a little dog right now, and he is such a joy. And I find myself laughing and giggling with this dog all the time, which is astonishing to me because I'm a cat person. But I love this little dog, and we play. Like, I'm saying I'm having fun. And I'm encouraging you to find your fun, because that opens up so much inside of ourselves. It opens up idea pathways. It opens up creativity. It opens up a lot. And so if you're struggling and you haven't been having fun, do that. Find ways to make yourself happy on the inside. And house 1, this is the house of self. Like, who are you? Who do you think you are? Not who people tell you you are, but who have you decided you are? And for better, like for good and for bad. And maybe the unhelpful ways that you see yourself, whether it's over aggrandizement, like we overestimate ourselves or underestimate ourselves, whatever we need to clean up, these times, this season is a good time to clean these parts of ourselves up that are just in the way. And then also, what is the benefit? Like, what are your excellent, exceptional qualities? Because everybody has something. We do need to celebrate ourselves. We do need to advocate for ourselves and appreciate ourselves. And this is another thing that has been stripped out of a lot of our culture is, we've been shamed into thinking that it's wrong to have a high opinion of ourselves. This is something that I also struggle with. And I had a teacher, and he comes to mind right now. This was many years ago when I was in my 20s. And this man would say things to a room full of 40 or so people. And there'd be so many times when each of us were just like, he's speaking to the room, but he's saying things directly to individuals in the room. And one of the things that he taught is that people who have a really low opinion of themselves, especially in the early years of life, sometimes that's a safety mechanism. Now, understand that I'm saying this, but I do feel like the frequency that we're living in, under the reality and possibilities of our time now is different. There's so much that I don't think is necessary anymore. I don't feel is necessary anymore. But up to that point, this makes a lot of sense that for some of us, having a really depressed sense of appreciation, a real low sense of self-esteem, is protecting the world from an egomaniac, from someone who really and perhaps has reason to have high opinion of themselves, but needs to learn discernment and humility, and needs to learn different ways of expressing ego, and needs to learn how to experience different parts of the ego. And I can say this from personal experience. I did not understand what he meant at that time, but he was saying at that time, some people, their low sense of self appreciation is a safeguard for an overinflated sense of appreciation until they can actually grow into it and then have something real to offer and not be unbearable to their friends and family and outer community. So that's the first house. Who do you think you are, and who do you know you are, and how do you carry that out into the world, and what can be refined and what can just simply be appreciated and expressed more. 1, 5, 11. 1 is ourself. 5 is our creativity and how we express ourselves outside for others to see. And 11 is our networks, our friends, who we're working all this with. And then the last round of houses, 3, 6, 9. So 3 is your local community. How engaged are you in your local community? Now, there are those of us who are nomadic. We move around, and our local communities might still be very digital. But how are we engaging? And this is small talk stuff, smaller, local, caring about the immediate lives of the people around us and being involved, even if that is a digital long distance experience. There was a time when we used to write long distance letters, and we kept long distance correspondence going. I think we should relearn that skill. I think I talked about the 6th house. Oh, look at me. Oh, I knew I had my numbers. I didn't put 7 in here. I need to put 7 here. 3, 7, 9. I just liked that 3, 6, 9. It just had such a nice ring to it. 3, 7, 9. So 7 being the house of contracts or commitments, or deeper commitments. So in terms of the work and service and gifts that you could bring to the world, whether employed or self-employed, what are you committing yourself to? What do you benefit from committing to? How do you do your commitments? Are you overcommitted? Are you committed to things you have no business committing to, or that have no business having your commitments? Ask yourself those questions and go into those questions. And this is a good year to like renegotiate commitments, get rid of some contracts, close them out, and open up some new commitments, things that feel genuinely yours to commit to. And then 9. So 9 and 3 are like kin. They're all of these have relational dynamics. But 3 and 9 is one of the easiest. So 3 is considered local and like elementary ideas, like the things we learn in our younger years. And the 9, that's when we're ready to go into some deeper thought, some more complex. We're ready to have our beliefs about ourselves and the world challenged in 9, which then allows us to develop our own system of philosophy, our own belief systems. We really develop belief in our convictions in that 9 space. So what do you have conviction about? And sometimes this has to be reevaluated as well. Like all of this is up for reevaluation, refinement, and new negotiation. And this is a really good time to begin to do that in service to whatever it is that you come to understand as the offerings that you can make to your ancestor through the vehicle of providing for yourself, whatever all of that means to you. I thank you so much for listening. Please, please, please know that you do have my permission if you need this, because some people need this apparently. People apologize. Oh my gosh, I didn't have time to listen. Listen to this as you can. Play it in the background as you can, and come back to it if it feels like something you want to come back to. You're not being graded on this. There is no homework, although I do encourage you to do the practices. They're for you. I'm offering them for you to use as you wish and choose. All right. Thank you so much. It was good to be here with you, and we'll meet up again in the next one.